I never really had any concerns about getting sick, which I realize now is very naive of me. It hadn't really hit Tahoe that hard. So there's so much that wasn't known, so many precautions that hadn't been taken yet, just because it was so new. March 27th. I woke up with a runny nose, but I felt fine. I'm surprised with how winded I am walking up the stairs. And then I took my temperature and it was 100 degrees, but I made excuses about it still. I didn't think I had it. I really never thought that I would get it and that it would affect me as much as it did. It wasn't until I was home and realized I could not smell or taste that I was like, oh God, I think I have it.
What?
And it pretty much hit me like a bus after that. March 29th. By the evening, I was starting to get chest pain and was pretty short of breath. I was feeling so unwell I cried. Around 9:15 on Sunday night, the hospital called me and told me I had tested positive. My body fully shut down. Like, I was just immediately more tired. I just felt horrible. I think the whole process was extremely confusing. And I do think it's because they just didn't know and were trying to put something in place as quickly as they could. But there was a lot of loose ends for somebody that actually got sick. Everyone knew social distancing, don't hang out in large groups of people. But when I tested positive, I was like, I don't actually know what to do as a COVID positive patient. March 31st. Still very unwell, lots of chest pain, shortness of breath, no taste or smell, no appetite. April 1st. Wednesday night, I had horrible chest pains when I lay down, and my chest was making these gurgling and crackling sounds. I called my friend who's an NP, and she told me it meant I had fluid in my lungs, and I had to take deep breaths to make sure I used my full lung capacity. The loss of taste and smell made it really hard to eat. So the effort of trying to make food was so hard. I slept for 18 hours a day. I had night sweats for about 3 weeks. They were horrible. When I took a breath, like, I could tell it was not like a full deep breath. I would get so winded. And I was like, this is not good. So the concern for me was more about like my lung capacity and how that had been affected, and if there was going to be long-term effects to my breathing. There's one thing to have a virus, and there's another thing to have it affect something that you need, like your lungs. You can't predict who this virus will affect, and that it can affect anyone. I just had no idea. In my mind, I was like, my 2 weeks are up. I should be better. I should be better. And then it just wasn't happening. April 14th, I started having pretty bad chest pain and shortness of breath. My friend dropped off a peak flow meter. With my biggest breath, I could not get it above 200. I had to drive to the ambulance bay, park my car, wear a mask, and then a woman in full PPE came out to get me. She walked me down a hallway that was fully wrapped in plastic and looked like a crime scene. They gave me a chest x-ray and determined that I had bacterial pneumonia. And things kept happening. I just couldn't seem to catch a break. So even though I was getting better, my immune system was just so weak that my body was just like still fighting. It was very overwhelming because I was deficient in multiple minerals and vitamins and anemic and just things that I had never dealt with before. I lost 13 pounds and about 30% of my lung capacity due to lung scarring. And they don't know how long that's gonna take to get back. I have a harder time with a lot of things than I did before. May 5th, my night sweats are back. Today was hard. Physically and mentally, my lungs are so sore. It feels like I ran a marathon. I got mad. Why me? Why my lungs? No one else I know got sick. When will my lungs feel better? Will they ever be the same? It's been 5 weeks. I can't even walk a few miles without getting exhausted. I am an active, healthy human. I've been so responsible and I still can't breathe. This past week, I feel more human than I've felt in 2 months. But I get tired way more easily than I used to. I have a lot harder time breathing than I used to, but I'm working on it.